Hello everybody and welcome back to WhatCulture Gaming here at Luca Games and Comics 2019. I'm with Richard Whitters, the Senior Art Director for Dungeons and Dragons. How are you today?
I'm great.
Yes, are you enjoying the dungeon vibe?
It's very cool. There's Seattle weather going on outside, so that feels like home, and a dungeon that feels like home as well.
Yeah, does it feel like you're inside one of your creations?
A little bit, yeah.
So what drew you to fantasy as a genre and doing art and all that sort of thing for fantasy in particular?
I started out playing D&D probably when I was in my early teens, kind of thing. So we just played D&D all the time, and I loved all the old, Conan comics and all that kind of stuff. So we're just very into fantasy, and I'm kind of from east coast of Canada. Yeah. And honestly, there's not much to do there. And when it's wintertime, there's even less to do there. Yeah. It's like, what can you do inside with a blanket wrapped around you, kind of thing. So I think just running away in your imagination and running around having adventures was stuff we grew up with. Yeah,
definitely. What kind of inspires you for your creations for Dungeons and Dragons and all that sort of adventure type thing?
It's a million things. It depends. Like D&D is so broad. Like say when we're working on Curse of Strahd and Ravenloft, there's just a lot of gothic horror, that kind of tropes and stuff. And when you do giants, there's all that sort of classic giant kind of inspirations and things like that. So whatever the challenge ends up being, you just kind of dig into it. You start pulling out reference, and you get the right creative people with our artists and writers, and you just start making up ideas. And also with the onset of digital games, digital games are so amazing over the past few years that you really have to challenge yourself. Like, can we try something that people haven't tried before? Can we show people something or take them to a place they haven't quite been before? Yeah. So, yeah.
Is it quite difficult to make your own, mythology for these sorts of things? Or would you say that it draws a lot on things you already know?
I think we try to draw off what we have. Yeah. Like D&D is a 45-year history. And we kind of take what's there, but like I said, we still have fantasy has been brought to new levels in movies and in TV and in digital games and all that kind of thing, that we're kind of like, a lot of this needs sort of dust blown off of it, kind of thing. So, but we can take those parts that we've had and sort of update them, and then there's also plenty of room just to come up with new ideas. Yeah.
What has been your favorite project you've worked on over the years? Because you've been with D&D for a while. I know you've been with Magic before as well. Yes. So you've had lots of influence for all these wonderful fantasy creations. What's been your most lasting and favorite memory from those?
It's hard to pin that down. There's been so many, but one of the first ones I worked on moving over to D&D was Curse of Strahd, and Ravenloft was one of the first big ones that we dug into, and it was really myself and Chris Perkins and Adam Lee, and I really enjoyed that. Our team and the three of us just clicked all the time, and we got in this habit of going down in the morning to get a cup of tea. And then we would, and at one point we'd go over to the hotel lobby across the parking lot and just sit in the lobby and talk about stuff. And that was one of my favorite times. We just got in a real jam of making stuff up.
Oh, definitely. I read in your Magic dossier before you made reference to being a ninja. So I need to know if that's true and if you have true ninja skills. And if you maybe can do an example for us,
I'm as good a ninja as I am a rider of a goat.
Oh,
or
wow.
a connoisseur of cognac. I think I just get my actual. I'm boring, so I have to sort of.
Oh, so
it up.
It was all a lie.
Yeah,
is
totally.
what you're telling me?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Richard.
Richard.
This is too.
I also read in your dossier that you have created your own games as well. So what sort of, or like you said that you make your own games or influence that sort of thing. What sort of, where do you draw inspiration from for that, and what has that been like being a part of making your own versions of everything?
One of the biggest things I can think of for that, or the moments that I think of, again being Canadian, was me and my friend Matthew years ago got snowed in. Yeah. And we shared an apartment. So we're just snowed in, and we're like, we have some hot dogs and some tea, whatever. Yeah. So I guess we're going to sit
like
here.
The tea.
Yeah, exactly. I love tea. So we were like, let's make a board game.
Yeah.
So we made our first board game. It was terrible. It was the worst board game anyone's ever made. But we just started making games and things like that just to entertain people. We made the second board game we made was more silly and it was way more fun. And we invited friends over to play it, and we're like, this is really fun. So I think that's really that kind of thing. It's like D&D in that way, where it's like, how can I make this thing to bring people together?
Yeah.
And you're going to laugh and have fun and do that kind of thing. So I think making games is just sort of part of that.
Oh, definitely. I know it's like a hard task. My dad has once tried to make a game and he called it Beat the Dragon and Get the Gold. And that was all it was. It was beat the dragon and get the gold. So I don't know if there's any more involved ideas than that to it, but there we go. That's the only experience I have of creating your own games. So I'm very impressed with all that sort of stuff. And back to Dungeons and Dragons. What would you say is your most favorite piece of lore to do with Dungeons and Dragons and the monsters that you've been involved with over the years? Like, is there anything that you feel drawn to that you've wanted to play out on?
That's again a toughie.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of it. Like, it's 4 or 5 years.
There's so much of it. I think I'm used to my brain flipping into, like I said, I've sort of lived with the game and played for like a long time. So I know a lot of the lore. There are definitely people who know a lot more about the lore than me, but I know a lot of the things. And like I said, typically we get a project, and it's like, oh, it involves this creature, like we did giants and we did demons and we did Strahd, like in Ravenloft and all that kind of thing. So for me, it's actually, I don't really have a favorite, but I like the way that you just get like, here's what we're going to look into, and it's like, okay, how can we make this cool? How can we make this amazing?
Yeah, the blow off, like.
Yeah, and I'm so lucky too. I get to work with some of the world's greatest artists. Like amazing fantasy artists that I work with, and they're all just wonderful folks. So I'm lucky to have that because we all get excited and just sort of, because I lean on the side a little less of like, here's the art description and it has to be this, and a little more of like, make it cool. What's the fun part? Make sure it's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's really the fun part for me. And I couldn't pick a favorite. My goal is usually to make this my favorite. And it's, okay, here's the next thing. I'll make that my favorite.
Yeah. That's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
What has it been like watching Dungeons and Dragons like grow over the years you've been playing it? And where do you think it's going to go next? And how do you think you're going to go with that?
Navigate that.
Yeah.
I think when I started playing, like I said, I was saying in another interview too, that it was almost like a secret society. Like there would be someone you knew who played, and they'd be like, "Would you like to play?"
Yeah. Ooh.
Like we will be in the attic, And I started playing. Some of the earliest games I played was at my friend Ken's place, and we'd go to his attic, and it was literally a door on boxes.
Yeah.
That was our table.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is strange. And
yeah.
he had drawings all over the wall.
Yeah. It sounds like a cult, like.
Yeah. I was like, what's
this?
going
on?
Yeah. So that was my experience in getting into it. And it got me into drawing. I got friends going into writing, and math, everything. And nowadays, like I said, I think the biggest shift has been being able to see people play on YouTube or on Twitch, and to actually say like, oh, I see what they're doing. Like it's not this strange thing, and it's I don't have to read 3 textbooks.
Yeah.
And that sort of intimidating barrier to entry is sort of like, that's not complicated.
Yeah,
that's
I
just
get that.
Fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the biggest switch. And for the future, I am not quite sure.
Yeah.
But I really like the idea of more people. I really like to think that people are angled towards more like face-to-face social interaction.
Yeah.
So you can actually be with real people and laugh together and all that. So I like that as a trend. So I hope via the lens of us taking over the world, that is the why.
Do you feel good about like the pop culture influence that's come from D&D then, like Stranger Things in particular, bringing D&D to the fore? Has that been a really positive thing for you?
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing to see that. The Stranger Things kind of floored me.
Yeah.
Because it was almost exact on the nose of like, that's when I started playing, you know, and this reminds me of some of my friends. And, you know, that it was just so on the nose for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like
It's
a little
nostalgic.
time machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get that amazing kind of humbling part, too, where it's like, I can't believe I'm sort of sitting here.
Like, I'm in charge,
Yeah, being able to do this kind of thing. And on that note, too, in art direction, I do kind of the concepting, world building kind of art. And Kate Irwin commissions all the interiors for the books.
Yeah.
And Emmy Tangi helps out with a lot of that too. Emmy Tangi's amazing. And Shauna Narciso does a lot of the marketing art and commissions the covers and things like that. So for clarity there too, it's not just me.
Yeah.
We have a whole team of awesome people who do stuff. But I'm kind of, I hit the front end and then to be like, okay, now make this cool. Yeah.
Wonderful. Are there any other artists that you draw inspiration from when you're thinking of these things, or again, is it just the make it cool in my own way?
Everybody has their influences. Like I have a lot. I was always a huge fan of Tony DiDolizzi, who did a lot of D&D Planescape stuff. Yeah. And in recent months, I've been able to like talk to him and chat with him on the phone, and that was one of the pinnacle things in my sort of career. I was like, this is so amazing. I get to talk to this fellow, and he's so nice. And also, you know, I've always loved Norman Rockwell and Edmund Dulac and all that. And I think every artist has their sort of pocket of influences, and out of that, they sort of make their own thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that has been fascinating to learn about like your process, the things that you like, and all that sort of stuff that relates back to Dungeons and Dragons and your life with it as well. So thank you so much for talking to us.
You're very welcome.
Where can we find you on social media?
Oh, what is it? Whitters Richard at Twitter, on Twitter,
yeah,
whatever.
Perfect.
At Whitters Richard. if you look
on
Instagram or Twitter, if you search probably just Whitters, WHITTER, whatever.
Oh, you're on there somewhere. You're on there somewhere.
Well, yeah, find me.
Wonderful. You can find me. You can find me somewhere with Ash and Millman around. I always mess this up at the end, so like, you know what, this is perfect. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We've got more Luca 2019 coverage, more interviews coming your way, and we'll see you again soon.
Grazie, Luca.
Bye.